Hello, hello, hello. Happy almost fall, everybody in North Carolina. We are here today to give you a little real estate update. I'm Terrence Boykin with Boykin Realty here in Raleigh, North Carolina, and we have with us today.
We have Zeke Farrington with Zane Real Estate, powered by Coldwell Banker, here in the Queen City of Charlotte. How you
Also
doing, Terrence?
doing great, doing great. Sitting here working out of my house today.
Mm,
Windows, blue sky, no clouds, loving life.
man, same here. I mean, I'm not at home, I needed a prettier background, so I thought I'd come to the office.
Look, I'm single. This is just about every wall in my house.
Man, okay, okay. Hey, at least it's nice and clean, though. There
Yeah.
you go. So,
So,
oh,
Zeke,
that's funny.
now that we're rolling into the fall, what are you seeing happening in the Charlotte market that our buyers and sellers can kind of look forward to over the next, 2, 3, 4 months?
Right, right. So yeah, so rolling into the fall and finally coming out of the Labor Day from kids going back to school, the families getting used to their new schedules and like you said, fall then into the major holidays, etc. So there's usually, as you know, that transition switch or what have you, and in my opinion, sometimes you just never know what you're going to get, Terrence. I typically see those that are looking to now find a home so that they're ready for the holidays, right? Especially those first time home buyers that are really excited about being able to invite the family over to their home for Thanksgiving dinner, be able to be really proud and show off their homes and things of that nature that once upon a time wouldn't have even thought about hosting Thanksgiving or holiday dinners, but they're really excited about showing off their new property. So I tend to find that as a hot spot of buyers and even sellers that they just want to get settled in just before the holidays, and I know myself as well, when the fall gets here, I immediately start thinking about the major holidays that are coming. I mean, it's my favorite time of the year. So
That's a big one for me as well. I can remember, I think it was my second year in the business. It might have been my first. It was my second year. I helped Ursa Lopez and her daughter buy a house here in Garner. We closed on the 23rd of December so they could have Christmas. And that when you said it, it reminded me of it. And I agree. And I work with a lot of people that are downsizing, moving. Some are moving from out of the area. So it is important for them. There's a lot of chasing their grandkids, for them to be here, have a home, being stable around the holidays, coming cooking with grandma, all that stuff. So I'm seeing that here. I'm also seeing a lot of people getting prepared. I just released a video last week about new construction. I've always talked to my buyers about purchasing new construction the last couple months of the year because that's generally when we can get the biggest discounts and incentives. New builders right now are offering the most incentives I think that they offered in 5 years, and right now, on average across the country, new construction is $18,000 less than the equivalent resale. No, here in the Triangle, I thought we had a lot of new construction, but I was doing some research before the show, and ChatGPT told me that Charlotte actually has more new construction than the Raleigh area.
right, right. So I want to touch on that. You mentioned a couple of good pointers there, but just going back to the last holiday season, you were talking about your client, Miss Lopez. It was very similar with me when I had the Neelys. I put them in their home about 3 weeks before Thanksgiving, and and I'm single too, and whenever my son wants to spend time with me, I'll go hang with him. But I remember them asking me, what are you doing for Thanksgiving? We would like for you to have Thanksgiving with us. And normally I enjoy sometimes, just sitting alone, especially watching my Cowboys because they play every Thanksgiving or what have you. But I actually went over there and I had a really nice dinner and spent about 4 hours or so just hanging out with my new clients in their new home. So that always feels good. It lets us know both, even on your side, that that we're about relationships. Some and a lot of people, I think, they look at us as just salespeople, and I always try to emphasize that this is a relationship business. You doing what you're doing and getting your clients in so that they can really enjoy their Christmas, and then enjoying dinner with our clients. That's what it's all about. So,
I was on
so
a
kudos.
call on that. I was on a call this morning with agents from across the country, one of our masterminds, and that very topic came up because a lot of agents make posts about their clients, and it's interesting how we're client based for that, looking for the house or selling the house, that transaction period, that 30 days to a year. But as soon as that thing closes, we go from client, and now we're able to go to that friend and building that relationship. You really can't do it during that transaction period, so that is a switch, and it is.
Yeah, it's a great feeling. Your point on the new builds, there is quite a bit of new builds going on here. Just like your area. I mean, this is one of the top places to move in the country, right? Whether it's for small business, Charlotte's number 3 in the nation, actually, when it comes to sports business, which is I'm kind of gonna dig on our sports teams here because they're not really that good. Let's just be honest. But for some reason, still, we're number 3 in the
I'm gonna
nation for,
stand
for
up and
sports
say for
business.
Raleigh, NC State is, so we're good.
Right, right, right. But to your point on that new business, I actually have a client right now who purchased a townhome new build 9 months ago, a few days before Christmas. And now here we are. They've decided they want to put the townhome on the market. We always have different reasons why we jump into a home and then immediately back out of it, et cetera, et cetera. So we don't necessarily have to touch on that. Where I'm going is there's still quite a bit of new build going on in that development, right? So to your point of the new build selling for $18,000 less than resale. The wonderful incentives that the new builder is offering, whether it's a rate buy down or special rate, like this particular builder, they have a 7-6 program going on. So basically, they have a really nice fixed interest rate, low interest rate. I think it's 3.99 right now for the first 7 years, right? So I had to prep my client that this is what we're up against. He's like, well, Zeke, my home is still brand new. I've really only lived in it for a total of about 4 weeks in this 9 months. He travels internationally quite a bit, and it really does show like a model. But when you're looking at having your first set of feet into your home and you laying in that home, sleeping in that home for the very first time versus someone who's only been in their home or used it for a total of 4 weeks, that's still a big fight. That's right. That's still a big mountain to climb or what have you. And I'm looking at 3.99 and and other incentives or what have you versus a 6 and a 7% on a resale or what have you, who do you think is going to win, right? Most of the time. So I had to prepare my seller, my client on that hey, we've got a steep hill to climb. So that's where we are. But you're right. There's a ton of new construction that seems to be at least here in the Charlotte region, that seems to be the sweet spot right now.
And if you're a seller right now and talking to an agent, if they don't mention that you're gonna be battling new construction when they sit down with you, I really want you to think about it because I know here in Garner, just outside of Raleigh, I have listings here, and with our resale, if a person is willing to drive generally 10 minutes, 15 minutes at the most, they could find the equivalent new construction to that listing. So if you are resale and you're going to list now, you have to list truly according to the market, if not a little bit less. Your house could like the one your client has. I'm sure that house is in great condition, but it's just like a car. Once you drive that car off the dealership lot, and the sense drop because you had fees involved when you purchased that home. So having that discussion with the seller that, hey, this isn't window shopping. If you're making this decision, you're gonna really need to be here for about 5 years at least to make it make sense.
Right, right, and that's a great analogy on the purchasing a vehicle, and that's exactly how I presented it to them. So that is spot on. So, but yeah, so in terms of the interest rates, what are you seeing in your market for interest rates on resale right now?
I don't know because I reached out to my lender this morning to ask him for rates, and he's out of town, and he's 3 hours behind, and he hadn't sent them back to me yet, so I don't know. And I pulled it up on chat, but I know they're higher than they should be. I think we're about 6.7, 6.5 right now, and I think government is just in the upper fives, I think.
Okay. 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 Yeah, and I think we're about on too because I actually reached out to my lender about an hour ago. Said, "Hey, I'm going on this. I need to know. I need a little bit of an education." And she said 6.27 for 30-year fixed, and 5.7 for 15-year fixed. I mean, I'm not one of those people that can roll with a 15-year. I don't know. Hopefully, I just live until I'm 120 or something because I've got to roll with a 30. But I am seeing, and I know we're going back and forth with the even with the new build, and I mentioned that 3.99. I am seeing overall outside of that particular special where the new builds are around like 4.99. I'm seeing that quite a bit. So there's some serious competition out there for resale and for the sellers. I guess that pretty much means that we're in a buyer's market. Would you say that, or what do you think?
I'm always really technical when it comes to that. For you out there, buyer's market versus seller's market, the delineation between a buyer's market and a seller's market is 6 months of inventory. If it's less than 6 months, that means the seller is in control more. There's and the closer it gets to 1 month, that means the buyer can negotiate less because there's not enough supply for all the buyers out there. Once we get over 6 months, that means there's more supply than demand. Before this call, I looked up in Garner, where I am, the average resale. I think we are 2.2 months, 2.2 to 2.3 months of inventory. So pretty strong seller's market still. But when I look at new construction, it's 4.4 months of inventory. So we're still in a seller's market. New construction is definitely inching up closer to that buyer's market.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, we're actually sitting at 2.8 ourselves. So and I appreciate the technical aspect of it as
That was the
well.
nerd in me.
Really,
Thank
really
you.
and truly. Well, there's just different ways to look at it, and that's good. And it's always a matter of how we're kind of seeing it and experiencing it and things of that nature. I tend to see it as a buyer's market more from the standpoint of what we're experiencing here with homes. For us, they're sitting a little bit longer, right? Even in our attempts, which is really important to sellers, in our attempts to price the home correctly, quote unquote, right? So what is that? That you can look at that in a number of different ways as well. But I'm having to have conversations with my sellers. But I usually ask them first, what do you think? Because typically our sellers have an idea of what they want to sell the home for. But then I have to ask them too, especially if we have a difference of opinion. Hey, there's two things that my sellers usually concerned about. either A, pricing the home too high and the home is sitting there for 90 or 100 days, right? Or B, we price it aggressively, and, but then the home goes on a contract the first weekend, then all of a sudden the seller's like, oh, I've left money on the table, right? So it's like, okay, do you want to be worried about that, or do you want your home to possibly sit for 90 days or what have you? And we're actually seeing homes sit on average here for about 40% longer, right? Even in getting showings, there can be plenty of showings. The house can be staged. We think we have it priced right or aggressively or what have you. Feedback that I get from buyers agents, oh, the home is nice, blah, 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 or what have you. But then buyers are seeing that the homes are sitting longer for us here, right? So they can love the home. I have two on a listing that I have right now. They both said the house itself is perfect, right? Says meets everything they're looking for, but they're just gonna kind of do some more research, or right, because they feel like at least here that hey, yes, I love this home, but it's been sitting for 40 days, 60 days. It's not going anywhere. Let me just take my time and make a decision. So
That
that's
urgency isn't there
like
anymore.
that versus the technical side. So it's a good way of looking at it from both angles, So
And from the
yeah.
listing agent side, I have in the last 2 months had to reach out more because you just said feedback, agent feedback. You get that email of what they thought. In the past, haven't had to go much further than that. Now I've been sending emails to those agents that showed. I've been calling them. I've been sending emails about price drops. We're having to go a lot further in reaching out to that buyer's agent to say, hey, what's there? What questions can I ask? Is there anything else your buyer's looking for? Hey, my seller's willing to do this. There's a lot more of that going on right now than I can say I've ever done because I'm sure it was going on when I got into the business 9 years ago, but I didn't know to do it. And then we slowly went up, market got better, 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 better. And now we're coming down. So now I'm having to do a lot more of that for my sellers.
Yeah. 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 That's it. So for you though, in terms of investors, I mean we've talked about sellers and buyers. What are you seeing with investors in your market? Are they trying to what I call steal homes the way that they did years ago, or what are you seeing with investors there?
It's a mix. I've got the investors that just send out tons and tons of emails with low offers. So still getting a lot of those. But my primary investors, they're back in the market. Most of them here, I got one of the contract that closes next week in Fayetteville for one of my investors who hadn't purchased the house with me in almost a year. Now he's back in the market. And there are a couple more. So I think they've got a feel for what's going on right now. I think they're also seeing some higher rentals right now. So I've seen more that are buy and hold right now, and they're going with some not what unconventional, but not the regular rental model where they may be going living, they may be, going for a certain thing. Um, so that's been a big one for us. And I've also going back to new construction, getting those interest rate emails for new construction, rates in the sixes for investors.
Wow, that's
And
that's
that's really
that's
good
very
for a
good.
lot of our first time investors to go ahead and get new construction. You don't have the headache of it. So that's
Great
good for me.
point. That's a great point. Great point.
What are
Now,
you
when
seeing
you
in Charlotte?
it's seeing a lot of like new investors or
Mhm.
first time investors that are coming into the market or attempting to come into the market. Seeing where I'm having to, I guess, educate them a little bit because back in the day, maybe I'm dating myself, but back in the day, an investor or someone with an investor title could come in and they want the home for 30, 40, some even, like you said, lowball offers coming in at $100,000 less or what have you. And so educating them on those days are gone. Not sure what podcast you're listening to or what have you, but you're not going to just come in and just steal a home from someone. You're pretty much as an investor having to pay or make offers just like a regular buyer, right? A non-investor.
And for you guys out there, when we say a lowball offer from an investor, we're saying they're coming in at about 50% either under list or under
Hmm.
value price. So if
Right.
the house is on the market for 350, they're coming in somewhere around 225.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. What I would call an insult. But man, there's a learning curve,
Yeah.
for them,
I
for
call
all of
it.
us. There's a learning curve, so I have to take that time to say, we can't do that. Just spend a little bit of time, with them and educating them about that. I have a couple of investors that I've worked with. One of them in particular is out of California. In fact, he's the only time he's been to North Carolina one time, and that was for a layover at Charlotte Douglas at the airport. So that's his thing with, oh, I've been to North Carolina, Zeke, but I didn't leave the airport. It was just for connecting. But he does quite a bit of business here in North Carolina or what have you. But even when he makes offers on homes, it's very competitive. I mean, he's a couple of times have actually gone over list price, right? And he's a seasoned investor, has properties here, has properties in New Jersey, Ohio, or what have you. I'm just his North Carolina agent. So we've purchased 3 homes so far, and each time he's actually been at list price or more, right? And because he's serious about getting a home. So that's what I'm seeing with investors. I do like your point though on having them to look at new construction, because this particular investor is always a cash buyer. And maybe you can attest to this, seasoned investors, have been in the business for a while, they've learned or what have you, they've worked, they built their portfolio. Those investors can often just pay cash, right? Versus the beginning investor usually has to take out a mortgage or what have you. They have to typically get a higher interest rate or what have you, and or put more money down, because it's an investor, because it's for an investment for them. But to go to new construction, that's a new one. I appreciate that myself.
I've also got more builders right now offering leasebacks, which a lot of you may not know. That's where usually in a subdivision, where it's a new subdivision, the builder will have their model home. They will sell that to an investor and then rent it back, usually for a minimum of a year, generally 2 to 3 years. It really just depends on how long it takes to build that subdivision out. So they're paying market rent the entire time. The house, as you know, model homes, they're all decked out with all the extras. And as they're staying there, because they're continuing to build in that subdivision, your home's equity is going up because they're raising prices every quarter. And so that's a good opportunity if you're an investor, especially a first time investor, to do what's called a leaseback. And Zeke, you said one thing about really showing the market. I've got an investor that I've worked with. He's normally buy and hold. He's doing his first true flip. And he was about 2 weeks away from finishing. In my mind, he was a little high on what he thought the house was worth. So we took a Saturday, and in Durham, there's a lot of flips going on. We toured vacant homes that were comparable to his. So he could really see that fit and finish compared to his, the yard compared to his. And it really helped him, instead of me just sitting there looking at pictures with him, for him to actually walk through that property. So I recommend that for a lot of you first time investors. If you're thinking about flipping, look at, truly get out, touch, feel, look, smell that competition.
Right, right, absolutely, absolutely. Are you seeing any relocations going on? Are you working with buyers that are moving in from other states,
That's
for
my biggest
whatever reasons?
That is my
That's your
biggest.
business.
Yeah, they're
Okay.
downsizing, relocating. In the last 4 weeks, I've gotten 5 referrals, either from my sphere or referral agents, all of retirees moving to the area. I've got one coming in town actually next week. Um, their kids live close to Fayetteville. They're moving to Raleigh, and they want one of the other kids to move. I've got another one that they're looking. They're going to move down from New Jersey, and two of their sons are going to move down and live with them, get their feet set, then move out. I got a friend of mine that, geez, I've known for probably 30 years. We used to work together, go out together, party, all that stuff. His father is considering living here or Alabama. So we're working on that. So that is a big thing here. And they're all looking at new construction. They don't really want to do stairs anymore, or at most have, loft and a bedroom upstairs for the grandkids. They want a little room to stretch out, maybe plant, do some planting, but not a huge yard because they don't want to take care of it. So that's probably 60% of my business right now.
Wow, good for you. Good for you. Yeah, I'm seeing some of that as well. And I guess if I were to think about the breakdown, can't really. I don't have a percentage breakdown, but I've worked with buyers from Connecticut, from Vermont, from Florida, especially Florida, and then just overall for the Charlotte market, are the most that are moving here are coming from either New York, California, or Florida. That's the big three for us. And the halfbacks, right, where they might be living there in New York, and but then they want to move, have a home here, for the winter months. They want to escape the New York winter and just come here, or even Florida, but and then basically spending half the time here, half the time there, or what have you. And then, of course, as you know, you're coming from California, New York, places like that, and sell your property there, $1 million property here is California. It's probably what, 2 million. I don't know. It's certainly
25.
much higher, right? So right, so they can sell their home there, come here, and just pay for a home, not have a mortgage here, and then have extra money to invest maybe in an investment property or just some other type of investment vehicle. So definitely seeing them come from New York and California
Yep.
is really big.
Yep. So it's about time to wrap up. I wanted to say, from just coming up on hurricane season, I've got my insurance agent reaching out to all of my past buyers right now saying, hey, do you need an insurance update? Do you have any questions? Do you want to talk about flood insurance? All that stuff right now. With you being in Charlotte, same situation. You guys get them just as much as we do. So everybody out there, I highly recommend reaching out to your insurance professional. If you don't have one, we can refer you one just to get ready for hurricane season. Hopefully it'll be calm, but you never know.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah, yeah, that's a great point. I like that. And you put something in my mind to let my clients know this too. So
Awesome. Awesome.
that's what it's about, right? So,
Yep. That's it. That's it. Helping out forever.
yeah, yeah.
So thank you guys for hanging out with us old dudes today talking real estate. If you have any questions about, topics you'd like for us to talk about in the future, please let us know in the comments. Please like and subscribe, all that good stuff. Zeke, thank you so much for being on today. Looking forward to talking to you next month.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.
All
I
right.
appreciate it. All
Cool.
right.
See you.
Bye now.